The Division III basketball world is a big place. There are over 400 schools playing D3 hoops. So there are over 800 programs, men and women. Each of those programs has a great story, and we can't possibly tell them all, but throughout the season we'll highlight some of the brightest stories in our Around the Nation column and here in these separate interviews. Today we're about 45 minutes west of Philadelphia in St. David's, Pennsylvania at Eastern University, sitting down with preseason All-American Shantays Jones and her head coach Nate Davis. Thanks for joining us, guys. I know we tried this last week, and this time it seems like it's actually working.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Shantay, why don't you start by telling us about your interesting journey here to Eastern? I know that's not where you started.
No, it's not where I started. I originally I committed to Iowa, the University of Iowa Hawkeyes, out of high school.
Yeah.
I stayed there for a year and a half, and I transferred in December to Cleveland State.
Okay.
And I stayed there until the following August. And like I said, I guess it just wasn't working out for me. And I actually got in contact with a good friend of mine, a childhood friend, who was telling me about a Nate Davis who was starting a program at Eastern University. And she knew him through USC Aiken. And she told me to give him a call. So I said, okay, why not, you know? So I gave him a call. Matter of fact, I think you gave me a call. I can't remember who gave the call.
We had a mutual friend who got us in contact with each other.
Okay.
And so I gave me a call. And we just set it up from there. We did a lot of like over the phone, like emailing and just trying to take care of like academic stuff. And then actually the last question I asked was, where is it? Like, that was the last thing I asked for someone to say, where am I going? It's like, Philly. I was like, whoa, I didn't know. Okay. I guess I should have asked that first.
Would it have changed your decision?
No, but I mean, it just kind of shocked me. Like, I got to go all the way to Philly now, and I got to take all my stuff with me. But like I said, I was out here on time, and we got it going. So
Definitely.
Well, Coach, tell us the story. How did you hear about Shantay?
Yeah, it's certainly similar. Obviously, similar story. I worked at USC Aiken with the men's program there. We had a young lady who was childhood friends with Shantay, and she played for the women's program there at the time.
Okay.
And when I knew I was getting this job, we had the same contact in Ohio that sent her to the women's program at USC Aiken. Her friend was a friend of mine as well, and he had gotten us some help, us get some players at USC Aiken. And so I contacted him. He was the first contact I had. I knew he dealt somewhat with some of the women up in Ohio, and knew that there might be a chance of someone looking for a place to play, and he gave me her name, and from there it was basically, I knew I needed some players. I knew it was late. It was still it was in, I didn't take the job until August 9th, so I needed to try to get a last minute player if I could, and it was just it was a blessing. It really worked out well, and obviously Shanta and I hit it off over the phone and felt like it would be a good fit for both of us coming here, and it certainly has been. She's done a great job.
Shantay, you went from playing at University of Iowa, which was Big Ten, to Cleveland State, which is D1 but lower end of D1, to playing here at Eastern. What were you looking for when you left Cleveland State? What type of school, what type of experience were you looking to have?
I wasn't really looking forward to anything. I knew like Iowa had kind of set the tone as far as like what I need to do in school academically and what I need to do on the court. Like, it was very intense out there. So I knew Cleveland State would be pretty much similar. I kind of already knew what to expect pretty much, and that matter of fact, it all carried over to here as well, even though, like I said, it's D3. Like, you still got to bring it. You still got to do what you have to do in classes. So I kind of already knew what to expect. It just, Cleveland State just wasn't a good fit for me. That's all. It wasn't anything that like caught me off guard or anything that I wasn't already expecting. It just personally, like, it just wasn't a good fit for me.
When you look back at your experience at University of Iowa now, how would you describe it?
I don't know. As a freshman, I would say when I originally went into it, it was shocking because I didn't know I didn't know what to expect. And college basketball versus when I came out of high school, the high school team I played for were two totally different teams. So at first it was shocking, but then once I gelled, it started to become more and more fun for me. So originally shocking, but I found my way.
Coach, now you were we were talking before we went on, and you're from Pennsylvania, but not from this part of the Keystone State, and you were down at South Carolina Aiken, a D2 program. How did you find your way to Eastern?
I've been blessed and fortunate enough to be able to coach. I was coaching men's basketball at the D2 level for 10 years, and I thought that was the direction I was going to be going. And, a gentleman that actually, who's the new athletic director here at Eastern, got the job in July.
Okay.
Knew he needed to hire a women's basketball coach. He was an assistant AD at USC Aiken, and a sports information director, assistant AD down there, and knew me from that situation, knew me from what we were able to do on the court-wise, turning that program around, but also knew me personally and knew that I may be a good fit for Eastern and for what he was trying to accomplish with the women's program here. So he gave me a call.
Had you coached women before?
I had not.
Men at
I had not.
How was it different?
I had not. It's different. There's no doubt about it. I mean, there's different issues that arise. There's different issues that arise. But, as far as on the court, it's not much different. I mean, I treat it the same way. They're college athletes, and I have the same expectations I have for them. I think maybe my style of coaching, which is more relational, maybe translated well towards the women's game versus maybe some authoritative men's coaches that are out there. I don't know. Right. But for me, it was a pretty smooth transition when it came to dealing with women. Of course, I may think that way. She may think differently. I know I still say some crazy things and do some things that the ladies still laugh about, but they know ultimately I care about them, and I think that's the most important thing.
So you come here and Shantay comes here, and I don't know if either one of you had looked at the program ahead of time, but not a lot of success here.
Right.
You take a look. The season before you both got here, the Eagles were 7-16, 2-14 in conference. They had won 5 games the year before that, and 5 total 2 years before that. So were you both aware of the kind of lackluster history that you were coming into?
All right, go ahead.
When we got out here, you could just feel the vibe. Like you can, like when I told people that I played basketball, like or just around campus, like you could just feel the vibe. Like, oh, you play basketball? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty good. Like, I'm okay. Like, what's the problem? You know what I mean? And then my roommate now, Lori, she was like one of the first girls that I met when I first got here. So, like I said, you could already sense the vibe. And I asked her, I said, what was last season like? And she just like, it was rough. Like, it was just difficult. We didn't win very many games, didn't get many fans. The first thing I told her, I was like, yeah, we're going to have to change that. We're going to have to change that. Yeah. So you could just feel the vibe, really. It wasn't even anything that we had to go out and like seek and find about the team before. Like, it just kind of like was there. Like, it just hit you. So,
Coach, new place, new gender, not a winning team. How'd they sell you?
I looked at it and I saw the opportunity that was here, to be honest with you. I see those challenges as an opportunity more so than setbacks or, they weren't necessarily what had to do with me and my program and what I would establish here. Right. I knew the challenge was going to be here. I've been blessed enough to have 2 other opportunities. The previous 2 men's programs that I was associated with weren't successful programs, and I was part of a turnaround process there. Right. So I kind of had a feeling that I knew what would be possible. And I also looked at Eastern and I saw that the volleyball program was nationally ranked and had success. I looked at the soccer programs that were, perennially NCAA tournament. Right. There's other sports that have been successful here. Field hockey has been to the Elite or the Sweet 16, Elite 8. So I knew that it could be done. It just needed somebody to come in and give it that vision. And and also I knew my new boss was who was going to be, and I knew that he had my back, and he supported me in that process. And so I really felt like the potential was here, even though what I saw didn't look appealing per se. But I just had a belief that what was potential here and what we could do as a team and as a program. I didn't know how long it would take. I didn't certainly expect it to be as quick a turnaround as we were able to do, but I felt like the potential was here to do it.
Shantay, when you got here from Dayton, Ohio, I watched a little interview you did with the Waltonian, I think in January.
Yes.
What do you looking forward to most? And I thought you had a really interesting answer. You said the travel, because you had never been to this part of the country.
Nope.
What do you think of this part of the country?
The furthest before coming to Easton, the furthest east I have been was to Harrisburg.
Okay.
So actually they said Philly. So I was like, okay.
Right. We're going to got here and saw trees.
We're going to Philly. But actually coming up Eagle Road, me and my mom just looked at each other like, where are we? I'm like, look, this is what the direction says. Like, it has to be here somewhere. But now that I'm here, it's a really nice place. Like, I do like it. There's a lot of schools around here. It's a lot of things to do. It's fun. And I go into Philly occasionally. I really do like the area. It's a lot of opportunity, I think, around here. Not just like in college or school, but I just think I'm gonna try and say like the like the businesses around here.
Right.
I feel like there's just a lot of opportunity, and you can really like dip your feet in a lot of good things out here.
All right, so your first game together is against Haverford last year. The team loses, but Shantay has 27 points, 9 rebounds, and plays 40 minutes. Your next game is Centenary of New Jersey. You win 90-87. Shantay has 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 assists in 38 minutes.
Yeah.
So 2 nights, close to 50 points, 78 minutes. What did you two think?
Well, I'm not sure what Shantay was thinking about that point, but I knew that, certainly our roster was a lot different last year. We didn't have a lot of depth,
Right.
And we needed to rely on Shantay a lot more, even more so than we have to this year. Even though, certainly she's still capable of having big games like that again. I didn't know what to expect, and I probably wasn't thinking much about the minutes that she was playing or the amount of points she was putting up. I was probably thinking more about how we were playing as a team, and we won one game and lost the other. So that's kind of where I'm thinking back to it. Where was your mind at that point?
I'm sitting over here trying to think. I think, well, for me, just being on the court, because like I said, when I transferred from Iowa to Cleveland State, I couldn't play because it was from D1 to D1, and then I really didn't play much at Iowa. I had got in, but like I said, I didn't play much, so I was just happy to be out there. Like I was just gonna give it what I had and just see what happened. Like, and we had maybe a few practices before, but we didn't really know each other like how I think we know each other now, as far as myself and my teammates. Like I said, I was just happy to get out there. I was just looking for a win. I wanted to get off to a good start, and because we lost, I do remember thinking to myself, I said, okay, we had only lost by a few points, if I can remember correctly. And I'm like, okay, for us, that wasn't bad. Like that really wasn't that bad. So I was still pretty looking forward to the season. Like I still had a positive outlook about the season.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, we'll fast forward all the way to the end of last year. You went 16-9.
Yeah. You
went 11-1 at home. You just missed the MAC Freedom playoffs by 1 game. What you had 1 year under your belt. What'd you think?
I was overall pleased. Obviously, as I told you a few minutes ago, I wasn't expecting to have that kind of turn on that quickly. I'm thankful we did, and it was certainly much more enjoyable than a slow process of turnaround. But I really felt good about our team. I felt like we didn't want the season to stop. I can remember saying, man, we won our last game and we weren't going into the playoffs. And for me as a coach, that's the first time that I've won my last game. And ever. In my 11 years at that point,
Same here.
And so it was a kind of a weird feeling to play so well and to lose or to win the game, but to not be playing again.
Right.
It was just kind of a weird feeling. So, but I also knew that at that point we didn't have any seniors and we had everybody coming back, and so we felt optimistic, I think, about this year, and so it was just that's kind of where I was at.
Shantay,
how about you, Tay?
What'd you think?
I was happy. I was a little upset because we couldn't go to playoffs. I really felt like if we did, we would have, towards the end, we really had put it together. I felt like towards the end, I was a different player. I felt like Katie Lincoln was a different player. I felt Becca Rowland was a different player. I just wish we could have got a chance at playoffs because I really think we would have did well. But as like Coach said, we didn't have any seniors, so they really did their part in recruiting. I commend them on that. So I was just excited to put it all together and get back in the gym, stay in shape over the summer, and just come ready to go for the season.
Coach, this feature interview is obviously with Shantay, but tell us about some of the other players on your team. I've now had a chance to watch you the last 2 weekends, and I've been impressed by some of the other players.
Right.
You've got some players that can score on this team besides Shantay.
Right. I think that's what I like about this team the most is the balance that we can exhibit on a day-to-day basis. We have players that I think we've had 4 different players go for 20 points or more this year. And I think that's a great sign because it really does make it hard to scout this team and to prepare for one person per se. But I like our freshmen. I think there's a good game in. The players that have returned that have made the commitment. I just think there's so many players. I could go 1 through 16, and to be honest with you, and be just satisfied with where they're at and the effort they're putting forth. But certainly Lori Wilczek, who's been a point guard for us, is doing a great job of just being composed and showing leadership on and off the floor. Katie Lincoln plays extremely hard. She'll make mistakes from time to time, but she just plays with such effort that she makes it up on the defensive end. She makes it up on hustle plays. And so we're just really grateful to her. Some of the freshmen, obviously Megan Nowak's been doing a good job as far as scoring points and rebounds, and we were very excited to get her to be part of our program, and we just felt like she would make an impact. I don't know if I had an idea of how big of an impact she would have made, and certainly she's doing a great job, and hopefully she can continue. But Kaylee Borman's doing a good job. She just brings a lot of energy. Gina DiDomenico is doing a great job as well. I mean, as I said, I can go down the list. Caitlin Doherty is doing a good job of coming in and spelling these ladies. So, and honestly, I don't think we've reached our potential yet. Certainly I can't forget to mention Becca Rowland, who's a consistent player, who's been here for 4 years. This is her 4th season. She became a 1,000-point scorer last year. And through her progression, I give her a lot of credit too, because her first 2 years, she was basically, in a lot of ways, all they had.
Right.
And so she's had to make the progression from being the number 1 person to now being a 2nd or 3rd option at times. And so I give her a lot of credit for that as well. So I just really like this team. I like the attitudes and the effort which they play. And certainly, it's disappointing that we weren't able to put it together today. But I know that we'll bounce back, and I know we're going to have a good season.
Okay, I got one last question for each of you. Coach, for you, when you have a rebuilding effort and you can start with a player like Shantay, how does that change things?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it certainly gave us a boost. Certainly gave us a boost. And I think that's, not only as her abilities, but just her mentality, coming from Iowa, Cleveland State, she had, a different work ethic mentality, a different attitude towards the game that I think, it helps the team just to get that experience. I know a lot of the young ladies look towards her for direction, for like guidance, and how do I handle this situation? How do I know they respect her as a player and as a person because of her experiences. So obviously getting her was a tremendous blessing, and it certainly helped our transformation as a program, no doubt about it.
Shantay, the last question for you. When I watched that interview that you did with the Waltonian here on campus, you mentioned you didn't win in high school.
Nope. You
didn't play much at Iowa. This is your last season. How important is it to you to go out, let's say, in the playoffs or with a big season?
We can start with a conference championship.
Okay, well that's a good goal.
That. And then, of course, like anyone, I go all the way to the end. Like, just give it all I got until, who knows, we might come out on top of D3 hoops. You know what I mean? So just. I'm happy with 2 championships, and I'm good with that. I don't ask for much. I'm good with that.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.